The marketplace of Vero Station was alive with lights, sounds, and smells from hundreds of worlds. Merchants shouted in alien languages, selling spices that glowed, fabrics that shimmered like liquid, and weapons no human had ever seen. Ships of all shapes hovered nearby, docking and leaving in a steady stream. In the middle of this chaos, Kailara moved like a shadow, her steps confident and silent. Kailara was not small. Her muscles rippled under her tight armor, and scars ran across her pale, green-tinted skin. Her eyes glowed faintly with the light of her homeworld's suns. She carried herself like she owned every place she entered. But here, she did not. Here, she was unwanted. The mercenary guilds had rejected her. The trading corporations had refused her contracts. Even the bounty hunters, the most reckless of warriors, had turned her away. No one wanted the fierce Rin warrior who could tear through a squad of attackers alone. Her reputation, instead of helping her, had become a warning. Dangerous, unpredictable, impossible to control. Kailara stopped at a dockside tavern, listening as a pair of alien merchants whispered. "Did you see her in the arena?" said one. "She destroyed half the mech units in seconds. Terrifying." "I wouldn't hire her for a palace guard," the other sneered. "Too aggressive, too short-tempered. You can't have someone like that in your crew. She'd stab you before the first mission ended." Kailara's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She had heard this her whole life. Strength, skill, and courage were her weapons, but in a galaxy that valued diplomacy and control, they became her chains. She moved on, scanning the crowd. Her next potential contract waited somewhere in the endless maze of docking bays and neon signs, but she doubted she would find it today. Another rejection would be nothing new. Then she saw him, a human. Humans were rare in this sector, mostly. Traders or diplomats. This one was different. He moved with a quiet confidence, scanning the crowd with calm, calculating eyes. His uniform was clean, simple, yet sharp. Unlike the others, he did not avoid her, whisper, or stare with fear. He walked straight toward her. Kailara stopped. Something about him made her wary, but curiosity pricked at her instincts. "You're the human," she said, her voice low, cautious. "I've seen you around." "I'm Jaren," the human said, smiling just slightly. "I've heard of you too. Kailara, right?" "Yes," she said. Her eyes narrowed. "I doubt it's good things you've heard." Jaren shrugged. "I've heard people fear you, but I don't fear you." Kailara's eyes widened slightly. No one had ever said that to her. Not the guild. Leaders, not the alien mercs, not even her few friends back home. Fear was respect, and respect was everything in the galaxy. Humans were supposed to fear her, like everyone else. "Then you're either very brave or very stupid," Kailara said. "Maybe a little of both," Jaren said. "But I think you're exactly what I need." Kailara laughed, a short, sharp sound that turned heads. "I doubt anyone needs me. I'm a weapon, not a helper." "That's exactly why I need you," Jaren replied. "There's a job I can't do alone. It requires brains and brawn. You have the brawn. I can handle the brains. Together?" He paused, letting his words hang. "We might just be unstoppable." Kailara tilted her head, studying him. His confidence was strange, refreshing. Unlike the others who tried to hire her and immediately feared her, he did not flinch at her size, her scars, or her sharp claws. For the first time in years, she felt curiosity. "And if I refuse?" she asked. Jaren's smile widened just slightly. "Then I'll keep looking. But I think you won't. You've always wanted to be more than a weapon, haven't you?" Kailara froze. The words struck deeper than any blade could. She had wanted more respect, more freedom, maybe even a place where she belonged. But she had buried that desire under years of battle, rejection, and loneliness. "Maybe," she said finally. "Maybe I will." Jaren extended his hand. Then let's start. Kaelara hesitated for a heartbeat, then slowly, carefully, placed her massive hand in his. It was larger, stronger, and more dangerous than any human could withstand, yet he held it as if it were light. The simple act was a silent promise. No fear, no judgment, only trust. A group of nearby aliens whispered again, this time with surprise. "Did you see that? The human is unafraid." Kaelara felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not aggression. Something else. Relief, maybe. Or hope. Perhaps finally, someone saw her for more than her scars. More than her reputation. Someone believed in her. They walked together through the busy station. Kaelara kept her eyes open, as always, scanning for danger, but her thoughts were divided. Humans. Maybe they were not as weak or foolish as her people believed. This one, Jaren, was different. He moved with a quiet, calm strength that did not need weapons or threats to prove itself. For the first time, Kaelara allowed herself a small, private smile. Perhaps being fierce and unwanted was not the end of her story. Perhaps it was only the beginning. As the neon lights reflected off the station's metal walls and the chatter of thousands of aliens filled the air, Kaelara realized something. The galaxy had turned its back on her. Yes, but humans. Humans might just change everything. And right now, one human had already taken her hand. Kaelara followed Jaren through the bustling corridors of Vero Station. The crowd parted instinctively, sensing the fierce Rin warrior beside the calm, confident human. Merchants, guards, and alien travelers whispered behind them, many glancing, with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Where are we going?" Kaelara asked, her voice low and steady, though a hint of curiosity softened the usual edge. "To my ship," Jaren replied. "I want to show you the job before we commit." "You'll like it," Kaelara raised an eyebrow. "You think I need convincing?" Jaren smiled slightly. "Maybe not, but I want you to understand. This isn't just another contract. It requires trust and teamwork." Kaelara snorted. Trust was a foreign word for her. Warriors trusted weapons, tactics, and instincts, not people. Yet, something about this human intrigued her. They reached a sleek, silver ship docked at the station's edge. Its hull shimmered under the lights, sleek yet sturdy, designed for speed and agility. Kaelara's sharp eyes noted every detail, the reinforced armor, the hidden compartments, the weapon mounts that could surprise even the most cautious attackers. "This is your base?" she asked. Jaren nodded. "And this is where the mission starts. I need you for a retrieval job. A small convoy of supplies is being hijacked by pirates in the outer belt. The cargo is crucial. Medical supplies for a settlement under siege. We cannot fail." Kaelara's eyes narrowed. "Pirates? That's a straightforward fight. Why me? Why not any other mercenary?" "Because you are the best," Jaren said simply, "and I can handle the strategy. You handle the storm." Kaelara considered him silently. He had the calm confidence of someone used to danger but not afraid of it. Most humans she had seen fled at the first sign of trouble. Not him. "Fine," she said finally. "But I work my way. I don't follow blindly." "You won't have to," Jaren replied. "I never ask anyone to follow blindly. Strategy needs input from everyone." Kaelara studied him. Humans were clever, yes, but capable of reasoning in battle? That remained to be seen. The next hour was spent reviewing the plan. Jaren laid out a holographic map of the pirate convoys. Path. "We intercept here," he said, pointing to a narrow asteroid field. "Pirates rely on speed and surprise. We'll use that against them. You'll cover the front, and I'll handle the maneuvering and electronic countermeasures." Kaelara nodded. "And if things go wrong?" Jaren shrugged. Then we adapt. Together. It was a simple statement, but Kaylara felt its weight. Adaptation was rare in her world. Most warriors relied on brute force. Jaren relied on thought. That could be dangerous or brilliant. They boarded the ship and prepared for departure. Kaylara's fingers danced over her weapons, checking blades, blasters, and grenades with practiced precision. Every movement was fluid, controlled, and deadly. Jaren watched quietly, impressed, but unfazed. He was calm, observing patterns, calculating outcomes. Hours later, they reached the asteroid belt. Pirate ships emerged from behind massive rocks, sleek and fast, weapons ready. Kaylara's heart quickened, not with fear, but anticipation. Finally, she could test this human's claim. The first engagement was brutal. Kaylara leapt from the ship's deck, her strength allowing her to cling to the hull of a pirate vessel. Within moments, she disabled the ship's weapon systems, tearing through its defenses with precision and force. Meanwhile, Jaren maneuvered their ship with perfect timing, dodging incoming fire, creating distractions, and hacking the pirate fleet's communications. Every move he made was precise, clever, and unpredictable. Kaylara realized something. This human was not just clever. He could think 3 steps ahead in a fight, anticipate enemy moves, and use the environment to his advantage. And yet, he never interfered with her combat style, letting her lead where she excelled. By the time the last pirate ship was disabled, the convoy was safe, and the pirates fled into the darkness of space. Kaylara landed back on their ship, breathing heavily but satisfied. She looked at Jaren, and for the first time, she felt genuine respect. "You're better than I expected," she said, her voice low. Jaren chuckled. "You're not bad yourself. I'd call that a success." They floated, in silence for a moment, the stars stretching endlessly outside the viewport. Kaylara's mind replayed the battle. She had seen warriors before, but she had never seen someone like Jaren, someone calm, clever, and completely unafraid. "You know," she said, breaking the silence, "I've worked with others before. None of them trusted me like you do." Jaren tilted his head, considering her words. "I don't trust you blindly. I trust what I see. And I see a warrior who doesn't just fight with strength. She fights with heart. That counts more than fear or reputation." Kaylara looked at him, something inside her shifting. She had always been alone, feared and unwanted. But this human, he saw her differently. Not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a partner. Hours later, as they docked at a small outpost to deliver the cargo, Kaylara noticed other mercenaries watching them. Their whispers were cautious, respectful. "The human, he trusts her," one said. "And she survived the mission?" Kaylara felt a strange warmth. For the first time, she realized that being fierce didn't have to mean being alone. She had someone beside her who matched her, not in strength, but in courage, ingenuity, and trust. As they prepared to leave the outpost, Jaren placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Rest for now. We'll need our strength for the next job." Kaylara nodded, feeling something she hadn't in years: hope. Maybe being unwanted wasn't the end. Maybe, with a human like Jaren, it was the beginning of something greater. And as the stars stretched endlessly outside their viewport, Kaylara allowed herself a small, private smile. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone in the galaxy. The asteroid belt glowed faintly under distant starlight as Kaylara and Jaren piloted their ship deeper into the outer rim. Their mission this time was riskier. A hidden pirate base had been discovered, and the settlement they had aided before needed urgent reinforcements. Supplies were running low, and innocent lives hung in the balance. Kaylara sat at the front of the cockpit, scanning the darkness outside. Her muscles tensed in anticipation. She had been on countless missions, fought hundreds of enemies and survived ambushes that would have killed lesser warriors. But this one felt different. She was no longer alone. "Are you nervous?" Jaren asked casually, his fingers dancing across the controls. Kalara scoffed. "I'm always ready. Nervousness is for the weak." Jaren chuckled, not looking at her. "Good. Just making conversation." The silence returned, but it was comfortable this time, not heavy. They worked together seamlessly, a human and a Rin warrior, blending brains and brawn in a way few could understand. As they approached the pirate base, sensors lit up, small ships patrolling the perimeter. Kalara leaned forward, her claws flexing on the console. "I'll take the lead. You cover the rear and guide us through the defenses." Jaren nodded. "Understood. But remember, this isn't just about strength. Pirates are clever. They know every trick in the book. I'll help you see the tricks before they see us." Kalara grunted, a sound of acknowledgement rather than words. She appreciated humans who didn't underestimate her. She had learned long ago that intelligence and strength combined were far deadlier than strength alone. The first clash came suddenly. A patrol ship launched from the base, its weapons blazing. Kalara sprang into action, leaping from the deck of their ship onto the patrol vessel. Her claws shredded metal panels, her movements precise and fast. Within moments, she disabled the ship's guns and neutralized the crew. Jaren guided their ship skillfully, dodging incoming fire and targeting enemy weak points. "Kalara, left side! 3 drones closing in!" he called. Without hesitation, Kalara pivoted, her body spinning like a weapon, and took out the drones with swift, decisive strikes. The pirates had underestimated them, thinking one human and one alien could not work together. They were wrong, deadly wrong. After the first wave, Kalara landed back on their ship, breathing heavily but satisfied. Jaren glanced at her, his calm, eyes reflecting admiration. "You make it look easy," he said. Kalara shook her head. "It's never easy, only precise." Hours passed as they infiltrated the base, disabling communications and rescuing trapped civilians. Kalara moved through the corridors like a shadow, striking only when necessary, while Jaren coordinated remotely, hacking doors and security, systems to ensure their path remained clear. Finally, they reached the main supply room. Stacks of crates marked with medical insignias filled the chamber. Kalara's jaw tightened. These were the supplies the settlement needed desperately. "Load them into the cargo hold," Jaren said. "Quickly! Pirates could return at any moment." Kalara nodded and began lifting the crates with ease, her strength unmatched. Jaren helped, using clever contraptions to move more supplies faster. For the first time, Kalara realized something. Humans could solve problems in ways she had never imagined. Once the supplies were secured, alarms blared. Pirate reinforcements were arriving. Kalara and Jaren exchanged a glance, understanding, without words, what needed to be done. "Stay calm," Jaren said. "We can do this. Together." Kalara felt a strange warmth in her chest. Together. She liked the word, though she rarely allowed it in her life. But now, with this human beside her, it felt right. The ensuing battle was intense. Kalara's ferocity was unmatched. She tore through the enemy ranks, moving faster and harder than any alien soldier she had fought before. Jaren, using his human ingenuity, set traps, diverted reinforcements, and predicted enemy maneuvers. They worked in perfect synchrony, each complementing the other's strengths. At one point, Kalara was cornered by a pirate captain twice her size. The creature swung a massive axe, aiming to crush her. Kalara dodged barely in time, rolling across the floor. She looked up to see Jaren had hacked the ship's security system, releasing a swarm of energy nets that tangled the captain's feet. Kalara struck with precision, ending the fight in seconds. After the battle, they stood together in the supply room, catching their breath. The adrenaline still thrummed through Kalara's veins. But now it was mixed with something else. A sense of trust and connection she had not felt in years. "You were remarkable," Jaren said, offering her a small smile. Kalara allowed herself a rare smile. "So were you. I didn't think a human could think so. Ahead in battle." Jaren shrugged modestly. "We all have our strengths. Yours just happen to be explosive." Kalara laughed softly. The sound surprised her. She had not laughed freely in a long time. The human beside her had a strange way of making her feel normal, maybe even safe. As they prepared to leave the pirate base, Kalara noticed Jaren studying her carefully. "Something on your mind?" she asked. Jaren hesitated. "Just watching how you work. You fight with skill, yes, but also with care. You think about what matters. Not just winning, but protecting those who can't protect themselves. That's rare." Kalara's eyes softened. Most humans would have ignored the nuances, focusing only on the fight. But this one, he saw more. He understood more. "Perhaps you're right," she said quietly. "Maybe that is rare." Jaren smiled, reaching out briefly, brushing a hand against hers. A small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Kalara felt a warmth she had never known, a trust forming that was deeper than anything she had experienced with other mercenaries or allies. As they left the base and entered the safety of open space, Kalara realized something profound. She had been unwanted, feared, and alone for so long. But with this human, she had found someone who saw her as more than a weapon, someone who believed in her, and in turn, made her believe in herself. The stars stretched endlessly outside, the viewport, and Kalara let herself savor the moment. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. Yet for the first time, she felt ready to face it. Not alone, but with a human who had already taken her hand, and, in doing so, her trust. And that trust, she knew, was more powerful than any weapon she had ever wielded. The stars outside the viewport of Jaren's ship shimmered like tiny jewels, but Kalara barely noticed. Her sharp eyes scanned the holographic map projected in the cockpit. Something was wrong. The systems she had trained to read, signals that should have been routine, now told a story of danger. "Jaren," she said, her voice low and steady, "this doesn't feel like a normal pirate operation. The patterns, they're too precise. Someone is directing them." Jaren frowned, leaning closer to the display. "You're right. This isn't just piracy. It's coordinated. Look at the jumps they made through the outer systems. Someone is planning something bigger, much bigger." Kalara's muscles tensed. "Bigger how?" Jaren shook his head. "I don't know yet, but I intend to find out." For hours, they traced the signals through the asteroid fields, avoiding patrols and using stealth to move unseen. Kalara moved with fluid precision, covering every blind spot while Jaren hacked and decrypted messages, slowly piecing together a map of the conspiracy. The truth finally revealed itself in a series of intercepted communications. A galactic faction, long thought neutral, was planning to seize control of key settlements, enslave weaker species, and consolidate power across the sector. The pirate attacks were only the beginning, a testing ground, a distraction while they prepared for the real strike. Kalara's eyes narrowed, the green glow of her irises reflecting anger and determination. "So the pirates are just pawns. They never had a choice." "Exactly," Jaren said. "And if we don't act, thousands could suffer. We need allies, but who can we trust? Most of the council would deny this, or worse, join them." Kailara's claws flexed on the edge of the console. "Then we make our own allies." They set a course for a neutral outpost, where mercenaries, smugglers, and minor factions often congregated. Kailara's reputation preceded her. Word had spread of the Rin warrior who fought with a human and survived. Whispers followed them as they entered the crowded station. Is that Kaylara? Someone murmured. With a human? Kaylara ignored the whispers. Jaren remained calm, analyzing potential contacts. Together, they approached a small group of seasoned mercenaries. We need information, Jaren said directly. A faction is planning attacks across multiple systems. We need to know their next move. The mercenaries exchanged wary glances. Why should we trust a human and a Rin? One asked, his tone skeptical. Kaylara stepped forward, her presence intimidating but controlled. Because I fight with them, and because if you don't, you'll be next. The threat was subtle but clear. They had few options, and the mercenaries reluctantly shared what they knew. The faction had hidden bases, sleeper agents, and plans to hit settlements across 3 sectors simultaneously. The scale of it was enormous. Jaren nodded, processing the information. This is bigger than I imagined, but we can stop it, if we strike first. Kaylara's eyes gleamed. Then we strike. They planned their next move with precision. Kaylara would lead a strike team to disable one of the faction's key supply depots, cutting off resources and sending a message. Jaren would coordinate. From the ship, using his technical skills to jam communications and track reinforcements. The night before the mission, Kaylara sat in the cargo hold, cleaning her weapons. Jaren joined her quietly, leaning against the wall. You know, he said, you don't have to carry all the weight alone. You fight fiercely, yes, but sometimes brains matter as much as strength. Kaylara glanced at him. Brains, huh? I fight with what I have. That's all anyone expects of me. I expect more, Jaren said gently. You're more than your scars, more than your reputation. You've earned respect. You've earned trust, and I trust you. Kaylara looked, away for a moment, unaccustomed to such words. Trust was dangerous. It made you vulnerable. Yet with Jaren, it felt safe. Different. The next day, they launched the strike. Kaylara's team stormed the supply depot with precision, moving silently through the shadows. Her ferocity was unmatched. She disabled guards and security systems with swift efficiency. Meanwhile, Jaren manipulated the depot's electronic network, cutting communications and creating diversions. When a squad of reinforcements arrived, Kaylara and Jaren worked seamlessly. She fought with brutal precision while he outsmarted the enemies, turning traps against them. The depot was theirs in under an hour, and the faction's supplies were destroyed. As they watched the burning facility from orbit, Kaylara allowed herself a rare moment of satisfaction. We did it, she said quietly. Jaren smiled. We did, and this is only the beginning. The galaxy underestimates humans and warriors like you. Together, we can change that. Kaylara looked at him, her respect for the human growing. He was clever, brave, and unafraid to face danger head-on. Most importantly, he believed in her. That belief made her stronger than any weapon she had ever wielded. The galaxy was dangerous, full of threats and conspiracies, but for the first time, Kaylara felt ready. Not just to survive, but to fight. For justice, for the weak, and for the human who had taken her hand when no one else would. And as their ship disappeared into the stars, Kaylara realized something she hadn't admitted in years. Being fierce did not have to mean being alone. With Jaren, she had a partner, someone who could match her strength with intelligence and her courage with calm determination. The galaxy had tested her, rejected her, and feared her. But together, she and Jaren were no longer just surviving, they were preparing to change everything. Kaylara and Jaren drifted through the quiet expanse of space, the aftermath of their strike against the faction's supply depot still fresh in their minds. The stars shimmered around them like scattered diamonds, but their thoughts were on the next challenge. The faction had not been idle. They were regrouping, sending elite squads to hunt anyone who dared oppose them. Kalara flexed her claws, feeling the familiar tension of anticipation. "They're coming for us," she said simply, her voice steady but hard. Jaren nodded. "They won't wait. But we're ready. I've predicted their paths and tactics. They'll think they have the advantage, but we'll be one step ahead." Kalara's eyes gleamed with determination. They underestimate humans, and that's their first mistake. The first attack came at dawn. Their ship's sensors lit up as small, fast vessels swarmed in formation. Kalara didn't hesitate. She leapt from the deck, using magnetic boots to cling to the hull, her claws cutting through the nearest ship's defenses. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and alarms screamed. Jaren remained inside, calm as ever. He manipulated their ship's systems, redirecting energy to shields, jamming enemy communications, and creating false signals to confuse the attackers. His hands moved with practiced precision, each command executed flawlessly. Kalara took down one vessel after another, her movements fluid, deadly, almost artistic. Yet despite her ferocity, she trusted Jaren completely. She didn't need to. Watch his actions, because she knew he would protect her from behind the scenes. At one point, a massive frigate appeared, larger than any vessel they had faced. Its weapons targeted Kalara directly, tracking her movement across the hull. She hissed, jumping out of the line of fire just as Jaren released an energy net that wrapped around the frigate's engines. Sparks and smoke erupted as the ship slowed. "You think that's clever?" Kalara shouted with a grin, slashing through the ship's main console to disable its weapons. "Not clever," Jaren replied, smiling faintly. "Necessary." They moved as one, a perfect combination of strength and intellect. Kalara's raw power tore through enemy lines, while Jaren's cunning ensured that nothing could corner or trap them. After the battle, as the debris of defeated ships floated in space, Kalara landed back on their ship, panting but exhilarated. Jaren came up beside her, brushing a bit of debris from his uniform. "You were incredible," he said quietly. Kalara's eyes softened. "So were you. I didn't think a human could think that fast under pressure." Jaren shrugged modestly. "Brains and courage are useful. You just need someone to combine them with strength like yours." Kalara looked away for a moment, unaccustomed to such praise. Most humans had either feared her or ignored her. Jaren, he saw her differently. He saw her as more than her scars, more than her battles, more than her reputation. Later, in the quiet of the ship's cargo hold, they reviewed the battle. Kalara cleaned her weapons, her movements meticulous. Jaren sat nearby, analyzing the faction's patterns and predicting their next moves. "You know," he said, breaking the silence. "You fight like a storm, but you also protect. You don't just destroy. You think about who matters. That's rare." Kalara's eyes softened. "Most warriors don't care. Survival is enough. I like to fight for more than that." Jaren smiled, reaching out lightly to touch her shoulder. A small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Kalara felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. Trust, respect, and perhaps something more. "You've earned it," he said softly. "All of it. And I trust you." Kalara glanced at him, feeling the truth of his words deep inside. Trust was dangerous. It made you vulnerable. But with Jaren, it felt safe. Right. The next mission was even more dangerous. The faction had sent an elite squad, a team of highly trained soldiers, to capture or kill them. Kalara and Jaren prepared, carefully, knowing failure was not an option. As the enemy ambushed them in a narrow asteroid field, Kalara's ferocity was unmatched. She moved like a whirlwind, disabling ships, evading fire, and taking down targets with precision. Yet it was Jaren's ingenuity that turned the tide. He lured enemy vessels into traps, hacked their systems mid-battle, and coordinated Kalara's movements for maximum efficiency. During the fight, Kalara found herself trapped between two massive enemy ships. Without hesitation, Jaren activated a system that released a burst of electromagnetic pulses, disabling the ship's targeting systems and giving her the opening she needed. She struck swiftly, taking down the enemies and regaining control. After the battle, Kalara and Jaren floated in the cockpit, catching their breath. Kalara's usual fierceness was softened by gratitude and something deeper. "You saved me," she said quietly. Jaren smiled. "We save each other. That's how we work. That's how we survive." Kalara looked at him, realizing the truth. This human was not just clever and brave. He saw her as a partner, respected her, and trusted her. And in return, she had begun to trust him completely. As they set course for a nearby star system to regroup, Kalara allowed herself a rare, private smile. The galaxy had rejected her, feared her, and underestimated her. But with Jaren beside her, she was not alone. She had someone who matched her in courage, outsmarted her in cleverness, and believed in her when no one else would. The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport, and Kalara realized something she hadn't admitted. In years, being fierce did not have to mean being alone. With Jaren, she had a partner, a human who had taken her hand, and in doing so, had taken her trust and her heart. The galaxy was dangerous, full of threats and conspiracies, but together they were unstoppable, and for the first time in her life, Kalara felt not just powerful, but truly alive. The stars stretched endlessly outside their ship as Kalara and Jaren approached the core of the faction's territory. Every sensor, every signal, and every calculation confirmed the same terrifying truth. The enemy's leaders were waiting, fully prepared for anyone daring to challenge them. This was the final confrontation. There would be no turning back. Kalara flexed her claws, her body tense and ready. Her green-tinted eyes reflected the holographic map of the enemy stronghold. She had faced countless battles, ambushes, and assassins, but this one felt larger, more dangerous. For the first time in years, she felt not just excitement, but weight, the responsibility to protect the innocent and the human who had trusted her. Jaren studied the enemy positions calmly. "We've predicted their defenses, traps, and reinforcements. We have the advantage, if we act together." Kalara nodded, letting a small smile appear. She trusted him completely. They had fought side by side before, but now the stakes were higher. Failure was not an option. As their ship descended into the enemy territory, alarms blared across the fortress. The faction's elite guards surged toward their location. Kalara leapt into action, her claws tearing through doors, disabling turrets, and clearing the path for Jaren to move safely. Jaren, meanwhile, worked his genius. He hacked security systems, rerouted power to disable weapons, and created confusion among the enemy ranks. His calm voice guided Kalara through the battlefield, anticipating threats before they appeared. The enemy had underestimated them, as they always did. Kalara moved like a whirlwind, striking hard, fast, and without hesitation. Jaren's strategy turned the environment into an advantage. Traps, barriers, and diversions all worked in perfect synchrony with her attacks. At one point, Kalara found herself facing the faction's warlord, a massive alien with thick armor and a huge energy blade. The warlord's eyes narrowed, sizing her up. He swung his blade with deadly precision, but Kalara dodged with speed few could match. "Jaren," she called, moving to flank the warlord. "I've got you," he replied calmly. A few taps on his control panel sent an electromagnetic pulse through the room, short-circuiting the warlord's blade for a brief moment. Kalara seized the opportunity, striking with deadly accuracy and forcing the enemy back. Together, they pressed forward. Kalara's ferocity and skill were unmatched, but it was Jaren's ingenuity and quick thinking that turned the tide of battle. Their enemies were overwhelmed, confused, and defeated, not by brute force alone, but by the perfect combination of strength, courage, and intelligence. After hours of relentless fighting, the faction's leaders fell. The remaining forces surrendered, unable to resist the human-alien duo who had dismantled their plans with precision. Kalara stood among the defeated, her breathing steady, her eyes scanning the room. She had survived countless battles, but this victory felt different. It was not just her triumph, it was theirs. She and Jaren, together, had changed the course of events. Jaren approached her, a small smile on his face. "We did it," he said. Kalara allowed herself a rare laugh, a sound that echoed across the silent room. "Yes," she said, "we did it. Together." The galaxy, which had once feared her and overlooked humans, now saw them in a new light. Kalara's reputation transformed from a feared outcast to a legendary warrior. And Jaren, humans would no longer be underestimated. They had courage, intelligence, and the ability to change the course of the galaxy. As they left the fortress, Kalara looked at Jaren, the man who had approached her when no one else would, who had trusted her, guided her, and fought beside her. He had become more than an ally. He had become a partner. "You know," she said quietly, "I never imagined someone like you would take my hand. Not when everyone else feared me." Jaren smiled, reaching out to take her hand gently. "I didn't see a weapon. I saw you, strong, clever, brave, and I wanted to be beside you, not in front or behind." Kalara felt warmth spread through her. Trust, respect, friendship, maybe even something deeper. For the first time in years, she felt complete, not just powerful, but understood and valued. The stars stretched endlessly as they piloted their ship toward the nearest safe system. Alien mercenaries and settlers whispered about the duo's victory. Stories would be told of the fierce Rin warrior and the human who trusted her when no one else would. Kalara's gaze softened as she looked at Jaren. "The galaxy underestimates humans," she said, a small smile playing on her lips. "They'll learn," he replied, squeezing her hand lightly. "And they'll learn about you too. They'll see what I've always known. Strength isn't just in fear, it's in courage, in trust, and in fighting for the right cause." Kalara nodded, feeling a sense of peace she had not known for years. The galaxy was still dangerous, full of threats and conspiracies, but she was no longer alone. She had Jaren by her side, a human who had taken her hand, her trust, and in doing so had shown her a path to something greater. For the first time, Kalara allowed herself to hope, not just for survival, not just for victory, but for a future where she and humans could shape the galaxy together. The fierce warrior who had once been shunned and feared now walked proudly with her human ally hand in hand, and as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Kalara realized something she had never thought possible. Being feared and powerful was not enough. True strength was in connection, trust, and the courage to believe in someone when no one else would. The galaxy had turned its back on her once, but now, with Jaren by her side, she knew they could face anything, together.